I mentioned I do have a free 5-day video correspondence course that I am offering for you guys today, and gals, I should say. It's absolutely free, and if you haven't been exposed to my trading methodology, you're going to learn about it today in this webinar, and then if you want more, you can get these 5 free videos, and I'll give you that website at the end. If you have been exposed to my methodology and you've already done my 5 videos, we have that 3-for-1 package that Paul mentioned. You already had an introduction to me, so I'm not going to go through my history anymore because we already did that. So let's just move right on into the presentation. And today we're talking primarily about Fibonacci. So how were Fibonacci numbers discovered? We're going to start at just the very beginning and then get into more and more detail, because everyone on the webinar is a little different in their experience level and where they're coming into this topic. So we're going to start with the simple stuff, and if this is too basic for you, just hang in there. We'll get to some more sophisticated things. And then I'm going to really, the main thing is that Fibonacci is great and very useful, and I use it, but you have to use it as part of a methodology. I'm going to share with you the trading methodology that I use the Fibonacci numbers within, and that's the key. They cannot be used alone. I'm going to share that with you in the second half of the webinar today. So the Fibonacci numbers are a sequence of numbers. They were named after Leonardo of Pisa, who was known as Fibonacci, which actually means son of Pinocchio. He introduced the sequence to the West in 1202. But like a lot of things that were introduced to the West, the sequence had already been used in the East before that. It's been used in Persia and in India. So, here in the West, we tend to measure things in the history books by, this guy invented this in the West. Well, yeah, a lot of those things had already been introduced in the East, and unfortunately, our history books don't tend to focus on the East. But anyway, having said that, what really concerns us is these numbers and how to use them in trading. So first of all, what are Fibonacci numbers? It's actually very simple. It's a sequence of numbers beginning with 0 and 1, and then each subsequent number is the sum of the previous 2. Okay? So let me show you how that works. So we start with the 0 and 1, and the first Fibonacci number then is the sum of the previous 2. So 0 plus 1 equals 1. Then we take those two numbers. Let me turn on my drawing tool here, actually. And we'll use our little pencil, and we'll make this red so it really stands out. Oh, this is very cool. Okay, so we've got our first two numbers here, and then that equals 1. So then we take the last two numbers. Oh boy, this is hard to do on a computer. And we move them here, we add them together, and we get the next number in the Fibonacci sequence, which is 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Very simple. So then we take those last two numbers, 1 and 2, and we add them together, and we get the next Fibonacci number, which is 3. So it looks like we're just doing 1, 2, 3. Well, that doesn't last very long. Then we take the sum of the last two, 2 and 3, we add them together, and we get 5. So these are, boy, this is kind of hard to do on a screen. I have a hard time drawing with pen and pencil, so on a piece of paper. So these here then are your Fibonacci numbers. This will be the sequence, okay? And so then you take 3 and 5, and that equals 8, and then you take your 5 and your 8, and that equals 13. And in fact, you can see on the header of the slide, these are your Fibonacci numbers. That's the Fibonacci sequence up there. Okay, so why are these numbers considered significant? They're significant because they're found in the structure of multitudes of natural patterns. They are actually an organizing principle of nature. So when you take these numbers, we see them in patterns created in flowers and shells and in growth patterns of pine cones, even cauliflower, things like this. So it creates this kind of spiraling effect. Now, of course, we're not interested in that so much. We're interested in trading. So in trading, what's most commonly used are Fibonacci ratios. Each number in the sequence is approximately 1.618 times greater than the preceding number. This is the foundation of the ratios, and it's called the golden ratio or the golden mean. The other two key ratios are then determined by dividing any number in the series by the number 2 places to the right and the number 3 places to the right. So, pretty simple. Let me show you what we mean by that, just to be perfectly clear. So here's your Fibonacci sequence, okay? 0, 1. Add 0 and 1 together, you get 1. Add 1 and 1 together, you get 2. Add 1 and 2 together, you get 3. 2 and 3 together, you get 5. And 5 together, you get 8. 5 and 8 together, you get 13. Okay, so and on and on and on we go. So that's what we call the sequence of numbers. Now, talking about the ratios, which is what we primarily use in trading, although some people use these sequential numbers as well. The 61.8 ratio is found by dividing any number in the sequence that is found one place to the right of it. So, start here. We'll just start here for simplicity's sake. 13 and 21. So 13, and then you divide it by the number one placed to the right of it, which is 21, and that equals 0.619. Take the next two numbers, 21 and 34. Divide 21 by 34, 0.617. Okay, next two numbers, 34, 55. Divide 34 by 55, 0.618. So that's how we get that ratio. And then that's really the primary ratio used for Fibonacci's. Now the secondary ratio is 38.2, and it's found by dividing any number in the sequence that is found 2 places to the right of it. So what we've got here is 13. This time we go 2 numbers to the right. We skip 21, go to 34. 13 divided by 34 is 0.382. 21 divided by 55, 0.381. Then again, 34, we go to 2 places to the right of it, is the number 89. And that's 0.382. Now, the third ratio, 23.6, is found by dividing any number in the sequence that is found 3 places to the right of it. So you get the idea. So again, if we go back here, 13, we skip 21, we skip 34, and we go 3 places to the right to 55. And we would divide 13 by 55, and we get 0.236. So that's how the ratios are calculated. So again, 61.8 is the primary Fibonacci ratio. 38.2 and 23.6 are considered secondary Fibonacci ratios. Now, there are 2 other ratios that come into play, 50% and 76.4. These are commonly used in trading as well for support resistance lines, for retracements and extensions. So where do those come from? Well, 50% is actually not a Fibonacci ratio at all. It's simply been observed that it is a common support resistance level. It is very significant when you do any type of trading based on geometry, especially as made popular by Gann. And it is very powerful. In fact, personally, I find it to be the most significant ratio, even though it's not a Fibonacci ratio. And then 76.4 is also not a Fibonacci ratio, but it's simply the mirror of 23.6. So what I mean by that is 100 minus 23.6 is 76.4. Now some traders, in fact a lot of traders, used 78.6 instead of 76.4. And that does have a relationship to Fibonacci. It's the square root of 0.618. So that's okay, and you can use either one of those. I would say probably of the people that I encounter, 78.6 is more commonly used than 76.